Yo, what's good everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be starting something entirely new. Now I'm going to be starting a brand new series on my channel where I'm just going to give like a 5-6 minute spiel about something and just speak my mind, comment on some stuff. And it's only going to be generally about 4 to 5, 6 minutes, and I'll just be posting this whenever I feel like it, maybe like once every week, once every few weeks. But the objective of this is to just give for a very short video about something that I feel that I just want to just get out there. Alright, so I'll be calling these sort of videos, I'll be calling them build talk if you didn't see from the title. And it's basically, I'm just going to be talking about stuff like I said before, but for today's sort of tidbit is scale and proportion. Now, when building in Minecraft, if you ever want to make something look very good or very realistic, especially for realism, scale and proportion are probably one of the hardest things to accomplish for beginner builders, and they're probably the most important for advanced builders and beginners alike. Now, scale and proportion, they're sort of different, but they work together, and they're basically the same when it comes to coming together. Now, an overview of differences in my head: basically they both work together, yet proportion basically means a balance of everything, and scale is just the size you use, but they both are very important. You can't go without the other. One similarity is they both deal with size in the end, and sizing as well. Alright, so now you know what the definition and basic overview of scaling and proportions are. Now we're going to talk about how important they are when you're applying them to builds. So why are they important? Basically, balance is the key to a lot of builds. Now, a build could be unbalanced in some aspects intentionally, but there is balance to some unbalanced part. That might not make sense, but that's how it is. Oh, and overall, builds all have, any good build has a very good balance, and there is such thing as a balance of unbalances. Now, talking about proportions and scaling in realism, basically they're very tied together. Now, this is a very realism based channel. I am a realism based builder, so talking about realism on its own, scaling is very important, and proportions, because any realistic build, especially in architecture, has some sort of balance in scaling to it. Now, a really big issue that I see a lot in the community when seeing all these realistic builds, especially for traditional architecture, is basically a lot of builders have scaled up their builds a lot increasingly since I've seen them in the past. And a huge issue about that is that they become less realistic, which is why I'm talking about how the size of the scale that you're building in is very important, because when you have to size up a build, you have to keep those proportions up and keep everything balanced. Alright, so a very quick example is this house right here. I am on World of Kraus right now. Now, this is a very good example of the issues on scaling and proportions. Now, if you keep these balanced, that's good, but the thing about that is you gotta find out whether it's necessary or not. That's the thing. That's a very difficult part about scaling and proportions. Now, if you see this house here, it was built by Seashore, I believe. A very good house, by the way, and it's a very realistic house you can see here. But the thing about this is that it's very upscaled, very big. And if you go inside, just look at this. It's got very high ceilings, but it's a very realistic build, and it's more realistic than any other build in the past. You got a really nice contemporary fireplace and everything like that. But the thing about this build is it doesn't feel as homey or cozy, and that just kind of plays into how the size of realism and such. Alright, so I'm here at this house built by JP Dillon, and a good thing about JP Dillon is that he makes the smaller scale. He uses a scale that is a little more compressed, and we're just going to take a small look about that very quickly. And as you can see, it's much smaller and, in my opinion, cozier sort of build here, but you can see the dramatic difference between the two houses. Now, a thing about scales and realism and proportions is that there's a certain sacrifice you need. And a person like me, my personal preference is that these smaller scaled builds have a little more realism, just because of the vibe you get and the perspective. But you just gotta and that's the thing about balance. You gotta balance that out and see what is best for you personally. There's probably a golden spot between JP's sort of scale and Seashore's sort of scale. but both require some sort of sacrifice, and that is what proportions and scaling in realism basically is. Alright, so for scaling in general, there is no big and there's no small, there is just balanced. And the thing about this is that you create what you want to scale and what you want to proportion with that scale, because it's just your idea. Basically, for realism, you want to make something as realistic as possible, and yes, there is a necessary balance for that in terms of the size. But for anything else, any idea that you have for building, and no matter how creative it is, whether it's a castle, land, like a mountain, or terraforms, or organics, you want to make, even like stuff like pixel art involves some sort of balance. Now, when it comes down to the bare bones, you are the builder and you are in charge. Now, the thing about scaling and proportion is that they do a lot to actually, convey the build itself, and they give off the vibe and what the people looking at the build might get from the build, which is something really important. And that's something that I've learned from the past builds I've made so far, especially with the stuff that I make on Shapescape. It really does help, and it does make a difference. So the next time you plan a build or thinking about some cool idea here in Minecraft, just consider something like that, and it'll really help you out. But other than that, I think we're out of time. Went a bit over, but that's okay. First video. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys took something out of this. And, much more videos coming out like this in the future. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed and have a good day. See you guys later. Be sure to like, subscribe. Bye.